Hey guys, what's up? It's Zyphon here, and today I'm going to be showing you guys my Kronen Prime build. So I did show up my Kronen Prime build in my favorite melee weapon video that I made this year, but I wanted to make a video dedicated to the Kronen Prime just for, people who might be searching for the build for it, because it is a pretty crazy weapon at the moment. So I imagine a lot of people are probably looking around for a pretty decent build for it. So the thing with melee is a lot of the melee builds are the same right now, unless you're building for, let's say, heavy attacks, for example. With the Kronen, I don't bother building for heavy attacks. Weapons like the Galatine or the Fragger, ones that have like really high crit and a lot of base damage, those would be the weapons that I would build for heavy attacks on. But the Kronen, these are weapons that I use if I just want to spam E and kill enemies really fast. These, in my opinion, are some of the best melee weapons in the game right now, or set of melee weapons, I guess you could say, because it's essentially two melee weapons, right? Because it's the Kronen, it's plural. But yeah, so this is the build that I like to be running on my Kronen Prime. You've got your condition overload for your damage. Again, if you're not aware, running condition overload is better than running prime pressure point, because if you are able to apply two status effects consistently with your melee weapon, then condition overload is calculated just like your prime pressure point, right? So the damage that it gives you, the bonus damage, is essentially the same. So if you're able to get two status effects on an enemy, then you're going to get more damage out of condition overload over prime pressure point. I've seen a lot of people in the comment section of the previous video asking why you don't stack condition overload plus prime pressure point. And that's simply because you get diminishing returns at that point, right? So let's say, for example, you free on condition overload and you free on prime pressure point, and you still wanted to throw on like your elements or something like that. Then you miss out on throwing on a mod like, let's say, Organ Shatter, for example, which is going to give you bonus crit damage. And because crit damage is like a multiplicative bonus, it's like a multiplier, you're missing out on a lot of bonus damage because you're not able to throw on that Organ Shatter mod to increase your crit multiplier, right? So hopefully that makes sense. It's not worth having too much of the same type of bonus on the weapon, because then you miss out in other areas that would give you more damage. You can use elements as an example as well, right? So let's say, for example, you miss out on throwing on an elemental mod because you're throwing on condition overload plus prime pressure point, then you're missing out from that bonus damage that you would get from having that elemental mod on, right? So hopefully that makes sense. But let's continue on with the video. So you got condition overload for our damage, Blood Rush for our critical chance, Organ Shatter for our critical damage, Drifting Contact to keep our combo up, because that's important to keep Blood Rush going and giving us our bonus crit. And then we've got Berserker on here for our attack speed, Violent Scourge and Vicious Frost to make viral. Again, you could swap this up and you can run Violent Scourge and what's that other mod called that begins with the Voltaic Strike, I think? Voltaic Strike? Is it Voltaic Strike? Yeah, Voltaic Strike. You can throw that there on, and then that'll give you your corrosive instead of your viral. I personally prefer viral over corrosive on the Kronen Prime, because the damage over time that you get with the Kronen Prime is insane compared to a weapon like the Typido, for example, just because the slash stat is so high on the Kronen, and you're applying those bleed effects so consistently with it as well. The damage over time is nothing to sort of scoff at. And then we've got our final slot over here, our flex slot, which again, you can throw on your Prime Smite mod, you can throw on your Prime Reach, you can throw on your Weeping Wounds. It's entirely up to you and what you want to run on your melee weapon. Like I said, like most of the melee weapon builds are going to look the same nowadays because of those melee changes and stuff like that. So implying you can get your status high enough to throw on condition overload, it's going to be on there. If you've got a decent crit chance, Blood Rush is going to be on there. And if Blood Rush is on there, Organ Shatter and Berserker is going to be on there. The only time that you swap up like your attack speed mod is if you're using a full status build, for example. And because, viral and corrosive are the best elements, Violent Scourge, Vicious Frost are going to be on there. You're going to throw those on if, you're using condition overload. So depending on the first few mods you throw on, that's going to determine the rest of the mods you throw on. And that's all based off the stats of the weapon. And yeah, it just goes on from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys this build just on its own, just these mods, and then we can start exploring the other options, the mods that we can throw into this flex slot right here. Whenever it comes to the stance, Sovereign Outcast, in my opinion, is the best, because you just deal so many hits in such a short period of time with this this dance mod on. It's crazy, and there's no reason to not have it on. So yeah, let's jump in, kill some level 165 corrupted heavy gunners. I'm just going overkill with the enemy level because, you know, the weapons are that insane. The melee weapons are that insane at the moment that there's no reason not to just show off how powerful they are. But these guys aren't going to be paused, because if we pause them while using melee weapons, we get a stealth damage bonus, so that's why they're unpaused, but I am invincible. I think I've got corrosive projection on my Valkyrie, and I've also got, what's it called? Arcane Strike on there to increase my attack speed as well. So that's kind of skewing the results a little bit, but that's what I'm running on a regular basis anyway on my frames. So to me, it just makes more sense to keep it on, right? So let's spawn them in and just spam E, and you'll see them die. They die pretty quickly. So you apply those viral procs, and then all damage dealt to the enemy's health directly is gonna, you know, deal more damage, right? So the slash procs sort of just eats away at them. So you can melee the enemy for a little bit, move on to the next enemy, and then the enemy's gonna bleed to death. That's kind of like every build in this game nowadays. So like rifles, they're built to do sort of the same thing. You got your hunter munitions viral and your beam and whatnot. But yeah, as you can see, level 165 enemies, and apart from this one guy, or these other guys over here, they were hiding on me. Yeah, these guys are all full health. I just didn't see them. But you see how quickly we killed all those level 165 enemies. You're not going to come up against level 165 enemies in the star chart anyway. The maximum you're going to get to is like level 110. And I'm just looking up at my little audio program. I noticed that whenever I started hitting the enemies, I started to speak louder. That's because the sound was obviously increasing in game because I was hitting stuff. But yeah, so level 165 enemies, they are overkill. We killed them super fast just with, you know, not even a completed build on. So the Kronen, insane weapon on its own. You can throw on, you know, Prime Reach. Prime Reach isn't going to increase your damage, but what it is going to do is it's going to make it so that you're hitting more enemies with every single swing. This is what I personally run because the weapon is so insane just with this here build on it by itself. I run this because, you know, I just like killing more enemies with every single strike, right? So in an exterminate mission, I'm able to wipe out entire rooms of enemies in a matter of seconds with this build, just because the enemy levels or the enemy effective HP is going to be a lot lower as well, because not every single enemy is going to be a corrupted heavy gunner, right? You're going to have lancers and stuff like that, or maybe you're playing against corpus enemies, for example. They just have a lot less health in general, so you know you're going to be killing enemies much faster. Play for the star chart, play for your sorties and stuff like that than you are here in the simulacrum, because they're just different enemies, you know. So having Prime Reach on just makes the game more efficient for me. But if you're all about that single target DPS, then you might want to consider throwing on Weeping Wounds to proc your status effects more consistently, right? So you throw on this here to proc your viral procs and your slash procs more often, then the enemy is going to die faster, of course. So if we go ahead before this here on, this will make it so that the enemies die much quicker, because those status effects are going to be going on to the enemies a lot more often as well. So that's great to hear too. So let's just go through, hit a number of enemies. You'll see that I apply a lot of bleed effects to them. We can just kind of walk through them at this point. I keep on spamming E. And you can try some of the other combos too, if I can remember how to do them. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but you can see that the enemies just die so much quicker. Gotta finish this here guy off. And there you go. Like that was a lot faster just by including one extra mod on there. So Weeping Wounds is definitely a go-to mod in this build if you want to apply you know, more status effects and just kill enemies quicker. That's entirely up to you. Again, I prefer Prime Reach over it because I just want to kill a lot of enemies with one single strike, but that's just me. And then the last thing that I recommend throwing on is a Prime Smite mod, right? So the same thing goes for Prime Smite mods. Like whatever I'm talking about, Prime Beam mods, how they double dip the slash damage and stuff like that. So, you know, your slash procs are just going to be dealing more damage pretty much throwing on Prime Smite Grenadier, for example, or in this case, it's going to be Prime Smite Corrupted, right? So we throw this here on, we deal more damage across the board, and also our slash procs deal more damage as well. So if you're really into the damage over time, like increasing the damage of that, then this here would be the mod that you want to run. The thing is, you're not proccing it as consistently, but because you still have like a pretty decent status chance, there's the other combo right there. Because you still have a pretty decent status chance, and these are dealing more damage. Well, you know, you can see that whenever we do proc them, the enemies die way faster. So it's really good as well. Kill this here guy. Dead. That there guy will die. Maybe he already is dead. No, he wasn't. Walk away from him. And you see how much damage that slash proc did? That was crazy. This here one isn't dealing a lot, but if you apply more, yeah, it's insane. So those are the builds that I would run. I'm gonna go ahead and mess around and throw on Prime Reach just for the shits and giggles and to show you guys how crazy it is. But insane, dude. It's crazy. Again, you could also swap off viral for corrosive if you want to. Like, say you just want to hit enemies and see a big number appear on the screen. That's totally fine as well. But on the Kronen, I personally prefer the viral combo because damage over time and whatnot, and you're able to apply those status effects really, really, really fast. And look at the range of my Kronen Prime. It's nuts, dude. It's crazy. So instead of spin the win, we've got spam me the win with the Kronen Prime, essentially. Hitting 2 enemies at once is nuts. That guy's dead. Any more? Here's these 2. You don't even have to be right up in the enemy's face with Prime Reach. And of course, you could also incorporate your what's it called? Your heavy attacks into it as well. So let me just go ahead and show you guys the corrosive as well, because I get the feeling that a few of you will be interested in that. So full take strike it is, and we'll jump in and we'll kill the bad guys with this. Now they won't die as fast, but you're dealing bigger numbers base. And whenever the enemy levels start to scale up, your viral is probably going to be your better bet. These guys die pretty damn quick anyway. So let's go ahead and use a heavy. So that's a lot of damage with a heavy. Big slash proc as well. So this build also enables you to use your heavy attacks. It's just like more of your combo is going to be consumed. So you see how I went from a 10 times down to a 6 times there? Go from a 6 down to a 4. More of your combo is going to be consumed with every single heavy attack that you deal, and the lower your combo is, then the less damage you deal with your heavy attacks. So, yeah, Kronen Prime is nuts. The thing is, as well, you've got a pretty high Riven disposition too. So I have a Riven on here, which gives me more crit chance and more crit damage, negative damage to infested. So it's a pretty good roll. It could be better. It could have melee damage, crit chance, critical damage, negative damage to infested. And I just go ahead and I throw that there on in place of Organ Shatter. And then that gives me a ton of damage too. So this thing is nuts. If you can get a Riven like that, it's crazy. You know, look, check this here out. You get some pretty nutty numbers with this. You crit pretty much all the time. It's nuts. Red crits for days. So the Kronen Prime is nuts. It is only recently becoming popular. The Riven dispo is probably going to get nerfed because, you know, it's just crazy. But yeah, Kronen Prime is pretty a-okay, man. I recommend picking it up if you can. I don't know if it's vaulted because I can't keep up with the vaultings and whatnot anymore, but yeah, that was a Kronen Prime build guide. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, go ahead, hit that like button below. If you want to see more Warframe content from me, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.